What's up, guys? Today we're going to do a coolant flush on Heather's 2017 GSXR750. We're going to change the coolant out from the OEM to the non-toxic engine ice. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, but I'm going to show you guys the easiest and simplest way for me. So come down here. So basically this is your radiator, which is going to hold most of your coolant, but there's going to be coolant inside your hoses that come along here up to your water pump. So what I do is I usually go down to the lowest point, which is these two hoses right here. So I will disconnect both of these hoses, drain that fluid into this pan, and then I will go on the other side to this side of the radiator, and I will disconnect from either here or here. Either way, if I do disconnect from here, I'll drop the hose downward, so all the fluid that's in here will come out also. And then I'm also going to do this one, put that one in a downward angle. Fluid's going to come out everywhere, so you want to have your pan up while you're doing that to be ready. Also, once you do that, you will crack this open, take your reservoir off, drain that, clean it all out, flush it out. You only have to flush this one time. I'm going to flush the actual radiator itself probably 2 or 3 times to get it clean. And when you flush it out, you want to flush it out with distilled water, not tap water. So let's get into it. So the other side. So we'll start on this side. Can you get down a little bit lower? All right, so we'll start down here. This is the water pump cover. So we're going to, I can go with either one, possibly going to go with the lower one first. And you can see it's already coming out of the hose just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this one up just a hair. So you don't need to take these hoses all the way off. You just need to loosen them enough that they'll back off. Like so.
The hoses or the clamps?
The clamps. So the hoses,
but you will
the
disconnect
hoses are
those.
going to disconnect completely from right here. You don't really need to worry about disconnecting it from up here. You can, but anything that's rushing through here is going to come out at the lowest point, which would be down here anyway. So, like I said, I disconnect from here, and 2 sides on the other side. Basically, any hose that's coming out of here, aside from this one, because this is the high point, you want to disconnect these and drain these as good as possible. Another thing is gloves. So the OEM coolant that the bikes come with is going to be toxic. So you want to make sure you don't get it on your skin. You might get a little splash on you, and that's not a big deal, but you don't want to get it on your skin. So I'm also going to, just in case, you're probably going to get a little leakage, so I'm going to throw this towel down just to catch any excess water that will possibly spill, just to keep it from running anywhere. So if you want to come down here, so these hoses, I can back them off now. The clamps, back your clamps off. I'm gonna go ahead and crack the radiator cap. What are you doing? You having fun?
I need a gimbal.
Why is it?
Like balancing on my knees.
Oh.
Too old for this.
It's all good. Alright, so like I said, this is probably going to get a little bit messy. That's to be expected, so you want to be prepared for that. Make a mess, just clean it up right away. And try not to get it on you. So I'm gonna probably go with this hose first, and it's gonna come out pretty steadily. Actually, I'm gonna go with the higher one first. So this is the hose right here that I'm gonna disconnect, and you can see as you start to get it to come off, it's gonna start coming out. When it comes out, it's gonna flow like a madman. So you want to be ready to catch it with this pan as close as possible. Now this, it's not just gonna come out of here, it's gonna be coming out of this hose. So it's gonna be shooting this way and this way at the same time. So it's almost impossible to get it without making a mess. So I'm gonna shoot this downward as fast as possible. As soon as about to break it right now. See, now that's actually pretty good. To be completely honest, I've seen a lot of people crack these open and just get it everywhere, all over the place. That's what you don't want to do.
I don't think you spilled a drop.
I didn't spill much, but
Impressive.
yeah. So you want to try not to spill it anywhere, because once you get it on your surface, like here, right here, get a couple little drops. It's makes the floor very slick and a little bit hard to clean up, but yeah. So that was pretty good. So that one is going to be, like I said, they're draining from both sides, so you want to be aware that don't just keep your pan down here on the floor and think that it's going to catch everything, because it literally would have went like this, and your little pan isn't going to catch much at all. So all right, so that's one hose down. So we'll go ahead and do the next one, and that's going to drain majority of the fluid, but it's definitely going to have some more coming out of this one. So we will go ahead and disconnect this one next. So not a whole lot coming out of that one. And a lot of times if you drain the lowest one first, a ton of water or coolant will come out of it. So usually I'll try to do the top first to get most of it, and then do the bottom, because that's where all the excess is going to be. Everything that's at a lower point than this, which is only like here and down. So all right, so that's this side. I'll drain these two hoses. Like I said, you want to point them all the way down, try to get all of that fluid out from both of these pipes. See, a little bit of extras coming out. Now when you run it through distilled water through the pump, you're going to turn the bike on and let it go throughout the pump, and then you're going to have to reconnect these hoses, run the distilled water through it, let your bike run up to temperature like 180 or so, and then disconnect your hoses, redo this. You're going to have to do the process like 2 or 3 times, so get used to it. So all right, now we're going to go on the other side. All right, so we've drained the majority out on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this hose, and then point them downwards. Same thing. There's still going to be some fluid that's coming out of here. Probably not so much from this one. Probably more so for this one, because it's at a lower point. There's going to be water or fluid in this hose right here too. So you want to point that hose downward, get all this fluid that's in here out also. This is going to drip, and it's not going to stop dripping. So be prepared for that. And that's pretty much it for as far as draining the hoses. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so we're gonna do the bottom hose first, which is gonna be this one. So it is going to flow out probably just as much as the other side, maybe a tiny bit less. But when I say this one will not stop dripping, it literally will not stop dripping. You can leave this here all night long and this thing will just drip, drip, drip. So just be prepared for that. Have something on the floor to catch those drips. So, all right. Not a whole lot, because we drained the other side first. So just a little bit, but see how it's dripping right now? It'll slow down to a dribble, but it will not stop. So get all that out of this hose right here. Have it downward. Get all of that. This is a good time to inspect your hoses also. This is a fairly new bike, so you wouldn't have any like dry rotting or anything going on, but you know, on a 10-year-old bike, 10-plus-year-old bike, you might have some dry rotting going on in your hoses, and you have to replace those eventually. But for now, this is just a basic coolant flush. So, all right, the higher point right here, and this is the last hose that I'm gonna disconnect. So we've done pretty good about not making a mess. So try not to make a mess. It's nearly impossible. So now you're gonna go ahead and remove your reservoir, your overflow. You wanna drain that out from the cap right here, turn it upside down, drain that in here also. Then you wanna put some distilled in there, kind of swish it around, drain it out again. Then you don't have to worry about this anymore until you're completely done. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, so there's one bolt holding this whole thing on right here. I don't disconnect any of the hoses whatsoever. Because this hose right here, you're going to turn it upside down and drain it from right here. So you'll take this off. This right here is just an overflow, so that if there is any in that hose right there, it would come down through here and be dripping out of here anyway. So I don't really worry about any water or fluid in that hose. And this is just your overflow reservoir anyway. So go ahead and get that hose out of the way. Remove the cap. Now this is a little bit of an awkward angle. It's hard to explain what you're doing, but you're basically just dumping this out. All of this fluid that's in this reservoir, you want it out. And my hose is keeping me from turning it. There we go, much better angle. So, and it's kind of an odd shaped little thing, so you gotta kind of work it back and forth to get it all out. So now once you've done that, this one's pretty simple. The overflow, basically I'm going to put some distilled in here, put the cap back on, and then I'm going to just swish it all around, get all of that fluid out, drain it one more time, and then you don't have to worry about this anymore. You can actually just re-bolt this back onto where it was after you flushed it out, and that's pretty much it for that. So alright guys, so I just got done draining all the coolant. I reattached my hoses on both sides, cleaned out the reservoir. You don't have to worry about filling this back up, but I did go ahead and fill this back up with the radiator with distilled water. You want to fill that up to the top, and then you want to put the cap on, run the bike, start the bike up, run it to about 180 degrees or so, shut the bike off, let it cool down. Repeat this process until your fluid is coming out of here clear. You want it to be clear with distilled water. You don't want to have any blue or green tint to it whatsoever. So you'll probably have to do that 2 to 3 times depending on how many miles you have on your bike. So for this bike, I'm probably going to do it twice, and then we will cut to that.
All right, ladies and gents, we're on to the last step.
All right, so the last step. So we flushed it out. I flushed her bike out twice. Water came out very clear, so I'm happy with that. So now what I'm going to be doing is basically you're going to reattach all your hoses once you flushed it for the last time. Make sure everything's nice and snug, because it's going to be that way for a while. You want to go ahead and fill your radiator back up with whatever product you choose. I just go with the engine ice because it is non-toxic, and a lot of racetracks won't let you ride their track without engine ice or no other approved non-toxic, just hit my head. Smooth. So
You couldn't see it in the
basically, you're gonna fill this up. You're gonna top it off completely right there, and so let's go ahead and do that now.
Wait, just hard. Do that.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take the whole bottle and then some.
So that's going into the entire engine?
No, it's going into the radiator.
Oh.
It's filling the hoses up right now too, and you'll see once I'll fill it, then it'll look like it's full. And then I'll run the bike, get all the air bubbles out, and then
Fill it again.
have to
Top
fill
it
it
off.
again. All right, you filming?
Yeah.
All right. So one bottle has put the radiator up to the very tippy top, but you gotta think some of these hoses aren't. See if I squeeze this, show right here. See, it's already going down a little bit. You're gonna have air trapped inside these hoses, and you can squeeze it, which will help suck some of that coolant down in there on both sides. But the easiest way to do it for me is to leave the radiator cap off. You don't want to let it get too hot, but you want to go ahead and start up the bike, let it idle, and you want to keep an eye. What you want to do is be ready to hit that kill switch, because as it builds pressure, it will want to come out of there. But this will help. Once with the cap off, it'll help all the air bubbles escape. So what you do is go ahead and start the bike up with the cap off. Cap's off. I'm gonna shake the bike a little bit, kind of rock the bike, get any of those air bubbles that are trapped in the hoses out. Both sides. Probably running it up to like 170, 180 before it's going to build enough pressure to want to come out of there and rise up. At which point you want to kill switch it, turn the bike off. But shaking the bike, rocking the bike, and applying pressure to the hoses is going to get some of the air bubbles trapped in there come out. Yeah, it's coming out right now.
Yep.
And that's because I'm squeezing on it to get those air bubbles out. So see, now it's coming out on its own. Once it gets out right there, shut her off. See how now it's going to go down? So now you want to let it cool down. And once it's cooled down, you want to top this off completely. And then you're going to top this off. We can go ahead and do this because we don't have to worry about that as far as for the bike cooling down. So this is just your overflow reservoir, so you want to fill this up. This is the high and low. Usually it'll tell you on the inside. It's hard to see it while you're filling it up. So this bike is a GSXR750, and it took one complete can of the engine ice, and then it's going to take probably about maybe a quarter of another one to really top it off completely, because you gotta fill up your overflow reservoir also. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Get down there on the level. So some people will put it right down there in the middle. Me personally, I will put it right at the high mark, which is your high mark, low mark. Put it right on the high mark. That way you don't have to worry about it for a while. So now, that's basically your last step aside from just topping this off. So you can see that's going down. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and top that off. I do that every time. See these little bit of air bubbles still come out? And if you a little bit of this drips out. It's not a big deal because this is non-toxic. But you don't want to be doing that with the OEM coolant. So we are basically done now. So we're going to put that radiator, not radiator cap, but the reservoir cap on there, nice and tight. And then you can go ahead and put your radiator cap back on. And you want this thing to the tippy top. You want it right where the cap is going to seat. All the way around, full turn, locks in. And that is pretty much it, guys. It's actually a fairly simple process. A lot of people will pay someone to do this, but it's good to learn so you can work on your own bike and not have to rely on somebody else and pay somebody else. I would probably say a shop would probably charge you about 2 hours worth of labor, probably anywhere from $150 to $200 to do this, plus parts. But the parts are literally, this is about 20 bucks per jug. So you get 2 of those for most bikes, especially like a liter bike. So that's pretty much it. And the distilled water, which is like $1 a gallon. So you're looking at like less than $50 to do this yourself. Take your time. If you've never done it before, take your time. You know, think everything through. Make sure all your hoses are nice and tight when you get to the final process. Try not to get that OEM coolant on you whatsoever. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. All right. Peace and
Ride safe.
ride safe.